My name's Andrew Murray. I'm the founder and director of The Good Penguin. If you don't know us, we're a small embedded Linux consultancy based in the UK, and we help our customers create real-world devices by making Linux work on it and doing all the horrible stuff that people don't like to do related to Linux. We've been involved with digital security by design before, and we previously developed the Okta distribution for the ARM Morello platform, and we worked with ARM and maintained that. Today we'll be introducing a new CHERI development hub, but before I go into that, I'd like to just take a quick look at the existing software ecosystem for CHERI. So it's clear that a considerable effort has been invested into CHERI software, and by having some good conversations with people today, I can also see a great deal of passion and energy has also been invested. And of course, in order to support any new architecture, a considerable amount of effort is needed. But often in this case, much of that software development effort comes through projects, funded projects, which often have specific research aims, things to demonstrate, or things to test the feasibility of. And whilst that's good at advancing the art of CHERI, it doesn't necessarily lead to mature software that is fully featured and ready for deployment on real-world devices. So that creates a little bit of a problem, potentially a barrier to future adoption. Some of the issues we see are out-of-date software. Naturally, if you've been working on a funded project and it ends, that software will sit somewhere in a repo and many years will pass. But unfortunately, in this day and age, it's simply not possible to put out-of-date software on a device, particularly one that's connected to the internet. So there's a burden there for somebody to update that software before they can make use of it. We also see fragmentation. We've seen multiple versions of the same components, perhaps with different versions, or perhaps with similar features implemented in different ways. And it's very difficult with fragmentation because it's hard to know which software you should use, and it spreads effort thinly between them. I think, for example, with CHERI at the moment, there's something like 3 LLVMs, and clearly without documentation, it's really hard for new entrants to figure out where they should spend their time. It's also hard to build a software stack or a distribution when you have components that might not be compatible with each other or have dependency issues. And the side effect of this is that it pushes this technical debt further down the chain. So people making products in the future, or people trying to provide a BSP to go with their silicon, are going to have to work on this non-differentiating software, quite often in isolation and possibly with poor results when that's not what they should be focusing on. So it's clear to me that a significant and ongoing effort is needed to ready the ecosystem for future adoption, especially as we're on the cusp of, I think, commercialization, where we see these new hardware devices coming into fruition. Oh, I'm going the wrong way, sorry. But change is coming. Apologies for the slides, by the way. I did this in Linux and PowerPoint on Windows. It's all gone wrong. But change is coming, and thanks to UKRI, we've been awarded funding to establish a not-for-profit engineering organisation to proactively address these challenges. And it is early days. We are weeks into this, and we are finding our feet and finding out what exactly it is we will do. But one thing is certain, and that's our mission statement. What we want to do is ensure that we can improve the availability, the quality and upstream alignment of open source software stacks and tools for CHERI. And what that really means is that we want to make sure that anybody that wants to access CHERI software for perhaps evaluation or to build a product can find that. And we want to make sure that developers that want to contribute also know where to start. We want to improve the quality of the software through CI, validation, through concentration of effort, by filling in the missing features that perhaps weren't necessary when the project was first done. And it's also really important to align our CHERI software with that of upstream. Clearly, the home for CHERI software isn't in the hub or the CHERI Alliance or anywhere else, but it's in the upstream projects like Linux or FreeRTOS or whatever the foundation software came from. But clearly that's also quite a long-term goal. And in the interim, there needs to be a home, a CHERI upstream for this software, a place where outputs from funded work and people's contributions can go. So what is it that we are going to do? So firstly, we will have our own engineering team. Initially, this will be provided by the Good Penguin and similar organisations. We've actually recently spoke to a similar organisation that has a specialised tool chain, so we're quite excited to get them involved. But in time, we hope the hub will develop its own engineering capability. The activities we do, this will very much depend on what you want us to do. It'll depend on what our paying members tell us our priorities are, and it will also depend on what the CHERI Alliance and its members tell us they need, and the CHERI Research Centre. But generally, the type of work we'll be doing is consolidating existing software, readying it for upstream, closing the gap between CHERI software and upstream, fixing bugs, and generally supporting the ecosystem to fill gaps so that the software we have is more reliable, more mature, and more ready to be used in industry. Of course, we want to facilitate open source development, and part of that will be to provide the infrastructure needed for that. What we don't want to do is come in and move everything to our hub. I think it's important that we identify what value we can add, and we can work wherever that is. But we can provide tools such as CI, and for paying members, we can provide things like hardware and loop testing. Something that's quite important to us is that anybody should be able to access and develop in these open source projects. Despite being funded in due course through a paying membership, we believe that membership doesn't provide access to open source projects. It just provides direction for our staff that will be working on those projects. But the goal here is really to signpost or provide an obvious upstream for staging CHERI work. We'll also provide and distribute software representing the single source of truth, representing the current state of art of CHERI software, so that people that want to engage with CHERI can find and use and develop or build upon. And that includes documented releases and validation. Initially, our efforts will be funded by UKRI, but in due course, we need to become self-sustainable because we see our goal as being quite a long-term goal. And we plan to do this through membership fees, where it will be of value to members to reduce their costs by consolidating and combining efforts with others, access to our board farm, and through direct consultancy and sponsorship of work. As I said, we're still in the early days of this, and we're currently building our executive team and identifying what exactly membership looks like. But we were keen to present to you today because I really want to hear from you what it is you think the hub should provide, what your requirements are, and what we can do for you. So I'm really keen to hear how you think the hub can help you. So that's the hub. Thank you very much.